Ketan, how are you?
Good.
You arrived today in Albania.
Yes.
So this is the fourth time, let's say, you are in Albania. Can you share with us some thoughts like what do you like most and least about Tirana?
I don't know if there is a least, but fourth visit says something. You know, the fact that I've started to fall in love with the place. It was courtesy of AADF that I first got my opportunity and my chance to come here, and I have to thank them for making that move. What do I love? The weather, the wine, the seafood, the meat, everything. It's just brilliant. You know, the people, everything just works here. I haven't discovered anything that I don't really like about Tirana yet, so maybe ask me in a couple of years' time. I can tell you then. Thank you.
So we always start Startup Guy in Tirana by asking like personal question about your background. What were some career steps that you followed before having your own business? And you have been labeled as accidental entrepreneur. So what does this mean for the community?
Well, let me start with the education. I think, you know, my background as such is my descendants comes from India and then Kenya, and then my parents moved in the 70s to the UK, and I was born there. And they've always had high aspirations for me to become a scientist or an astronaut or something of major significance. Unfortunately, I was the disappointment in that. I went to university. I wanted to become a car designer. And the second lecture at university, the professor says, has anyone got a question? And I said, yeah, I've got a question. I was sitting in the second row. And he goes, what's your question? I said, have you ever designed a car? And he looked at me and goes, no. So I packed my bags and I left university. And this is how my mind used to work, very simple. How can someone who's never designed a car teach me how to design a car? That's when I got to my biggest pitch of my life, because I had to go home and tell my parents that I'm leaving university. I'm Indian, just in case any of you don't know that. But when you go home and you tell your parents that and I was first born, so there are high expectations for me. Mum, Dad, I'm leaving university. I got the whole slap around the back of the head, and you're going to be a shame on the family, and all these kind of things. But I passionately felt that university couldn't do for me what I wanted to do, so I left education and went into employment, IT, electronics, healthcare, and then in 2008 I was a victim to the global economic issue where I was put at high risk of redundancy. I was going to lose my job, and that's when things started to change. I think for me, as you say, accidental entrepreneur, I had no intention of getting into business. I wanted to be a career geek. I wanted to become the director of a big corporation, have a big house and 4 holidays and 6-figure salary and all these things. And it's just like the world took the rug from under my feet. You know, my best plan had been taken away from me. So I did what any other normal, sane person would do. If I couldn't find a job, I had to go and create one. So I took redundancy, and I had a very young family at that time. I was just recently married and young, you know, 2 young children, and I went out and tried to find my own job, tried to create my own job. So I was self-employed. It wasn't really business, but after a little while, the tube light in my head started switching on, saying, "You're onto something here. Why don't you start a business?" So I accidentally got into business. So it all started with the fact that university didn't have the right environment for me. I thought I was in the right environment with work. And then best laid plans were changed, so I had to change as well.
Can you share with us the history, let's say, of the Enterprise Lab?
Well, Enterprise Lab isn't my first venture. It's actually my fifth. So my first opportunity in business was as a consultant back into the healthcare industry. Now, there's a saying that goes, your mouth sometimes writes checks that your body can't cash. That's me. I'm the kind of guy, have you heard Richard Branson saying before, you know, that, oh, you know, jump off the cliff and then make the plane on the way down? Yeah. Well, I didn't even know how to make the plane. I just jumped, basically. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to hit the floor. But what I ended up doing is I was very good at selling. So I would go out and I'd win contracts, and I'd win more contracts, and I'd win more contracts. And then I'm like, who's going to do the work? I don't do the work. So then I had this idea. I thought, well, I know a few people who are sitting at home, same as me, they lost their jobs, but they haven't got a job. Come and do some stuff with me. And cut a long story short, I started an outsourcing agency. And this was done during the recession, so there was an abundance of unemployed professionals available. And all I said to them is, I will help you become self-employed. I'll secure the contracts. You deliver the contracts. You know, where we go. A year later, we had 300 self-employed professionals on the network. We had contracts worth over 2 or 3 million in paper, and I got offered by a recruitment firm the opportunity to sell the model. So I'm like, hey, you're going to give me some money? I'll take it. So I sold the business, or the model. I moved into brand management because I wanted to travel the world. This is the whole thing about entrepreneurship and freedom. You know, I started to feel a little bit more confident. I was getting bored after a year of doing that, so I quit that, sold certain entities, sold the data that I had, and I went to go and I thought, let me go and speak to some students in college. Tell them that, you know, education is important. You need to, if you started it, finish it, see it through, because I never did, and I had to really graft to get to where I was. And it's then that I started to realise this real anger that I had in the pit of my stomach. I felt really good after speaking to these students, but I felt really angry that we're not preparing them for their future. We're not giving them life skills. We're just helping them pass an exam. You know, everyone has to answer the same question in the same way with the same result. I'm not a product of same, I'm a different person. I know that there's more than one answer to any one question. You know, my maths teacher said to me, you'll never amount to anything, yet I was the first person to get the answer right, and I got it faster than all the other students. It's just that I never chose their model of doing things. So this is where the inspiration for Enterprise Lab started. Enterprise Lab started its journey by bridging the gap between education and enterprise, and education and employment. And how do we do this? Really simple. If students couldn't go out and experience life outside of academia, we bring life into academia. Very quickly, we became quite popular with our programming, and it kind of grew on from there. And that's how it all started. That's how it all started.
You talked a bit about human resources. They are important part, let's say, of scaling a company. How do you choose people? How do you hire? How do you know that they are the right team, let's say, to work with you and grow your business?
Let me start answering that question first by the way in which we promote our jobs to the public. Okay. And statistically, nearly 70% of a job description is irrelevant. Seriously. Almost, you know, that percentage is irrelevant. What we write in there, because we kind of say, this is who we are, and this is what the job is, and this is what you're going to get, and this is what we want, and we want the best people with the best education, and the best background, and the best experiences. And actually, when you interview them, all of that goes straight out the water. And it's one of the biggest challenges that we've had. Nearly 84% of people will not apply for that job because they don't think they're good enough. And in 2015, in the UK, it cost our economy £900 million for having the wrong people in the wrong jobs. So let's start with the way in which we promote our jobs. Building a team is something that I was doing really badly, really wrong in the first place. Because when I first had my outsourcing agency, I wasn't recruiting, I was outsourcing. And even then, I was so unconscious to what I was doing, I didn't really realize, I just was trying to use common logic. And with that is this whole thing where all I was doing is looking for people who fit the attitude and the desire to work within those environments. I lost my way a little bit with that. In the next series of companies running up to Enterprise Lab, I was interviewing based on skill. I was doing what exactly I just said to you that we shouldn't do. Because I became very quickly a victim of that. And I found that staff turnover is really high. Now, staff turnover is really high when the leadership in a company isn't right. That's my belief. It just means that we're not leading correctly. And I don't put this down to the ability or inability of the person. I put it down to the narcissistic behavior that I had within myself. The ego that I had, that, oh, I know it all, I've done it all, I've seen it all. You know, everything I had to have a touch point on. So it was almost undermining the team. And that's changed. That's changed over the last year or so. You know, it's something that takes a long time to push out. So when I'm working with our clients and we look, I encourage them not to employ based on someone's CV, but more their inclination. Where is their passion? Where is their drive? Why is it they want to get up before you want to get up every morning and come and represent your business in a way that they can take it to another level? And my recruits today are not based on primary skill bases. So Sarah's an example. Sarah is a great story for this, guys. I came here almost this time last year, and I was invited by ADF to give a talk at the Junior Achievers, and there was a lady from the US Embassy there, or works at the US Embassy, and she came and saw me afterwards. She goes, "I love your speech." She's like, she's done the, I don't know if this is the typical Albanian thing, but she really caressed my arm. She's like, she was almost mothering me like this. I was like, oh God, body contact already on the first date. I was like, oh my God. She didn't say anything then. She just goes, "Can I have your card?" And then just as she was leaving, she goes, "I'm going to email you." I'm like, oh, okay. I thought maybe she's going to ask me to come and speak at the embassy or something. Like, oh, nice. All of a sudden, I get this email. A couple of days later, so she did say to her, and she goes, "My niece, she's in London." She goes, she's a really nice girl. She's really this. She goes, "Maybe you can speak to her and help her find a job." And I said, "Okay, sure, I can help." And so Sarah and I arranged a Skype call, and just typically, you didn't ask the typical questions. What's your background? What's your experience? We started talking about what is it you want to do? Where do you want to go? I didn't want to ask, why do you want to work for my company? Why us? It's more, what kind of stuff have you done and where do you want to go? What aren't you happy with? And I think Sarah was a little bit nervous back then, and she was trying to answer the questions the way everyone would. "I'll do anything you need me to do. I'll sweep the floor, I'll do everything." I'm like, no, I'm looking for someone who's going to say, "Look, I'm going to take the bull by the horns. I want to do this." So we met, and I said, "Right, you can join me as my executive assistant." And obviously I'm no longer a narcissist at that level, so I said, "You're going to become my boss." So Sarah is my boss. She tells me what to do. That's the mindset and mentality that we had. And this is the point I'm trying to get to. Human resources is very important. You've got to be a business which is more about building people rather than profit. I'm going to say that again. You have to be a business that builds people, not profit. Profit will come. Money's there. There are so many things that you can't do on your own. Even if you're a solopreneur today, if any of you are out there doing your own business, you can't be the marketing, you can't be finance, you can't be sales, you can't do all of the things. Even if you do that, you're averaging yourself so much. And it's not about trying to find the best people for the jobs. It's about finding the people that want to be the best in those jobs. It's so much more relative. So we've done the same thing. So like Sarah came on as my EA. We brought her in, she goes, I want to do more creative in marketing. She's now designing website stuff, she's doing all the marketing stuff. And I'm like, let's challenge you a little bit. If I gave you the country to manage, would you be able to do that? Yeah, I'll do that. So Sarah's now project officer for Albania. So this is how it works. Development starts from asking the right questions of your people. But the center line of this is build people, not profits.
Thank you. Another important component of building a successful business is a strong base of customers. How did you manage to build this strong base, let's say? How to reach the customers and how to keep them to be loyal to your business?
Well, I'm more of an old-fashioned business person rather than the new digital age. I'm very much about human connectivity. It's all about sealing the deal, you know, the whole energy of the handshake. This is, you build your relationship before you've even started working with or for that client. Customers are always important. They're the lifeblood of your business. If you don't have sales, you don't have a business, you have a hobby. And a very expensive one if you don't have customers. And not every customer is going to be right for you, yet we are consumed as startups and entrepreneurs and business owners that we have to have loads of customers, all different types of customers. We almost become, dare I say it, a little bit hypocritical of ourselves. We are strategy consultants, and yet now we've become specialists in law and finance and stuff like this. We stop diluting ourselves just to hold on to people. So one of the most important things for me was always being, and it's interesting because I can do a lot of different things in a lot of different ways. I can serve customers in so many different ways. So if you look at all the services that we could offer, it can confuse a customer. Yet, true to be known, there's only one message that we were giving back to our customer base, which is we work with you, for you, to serve you, to take you to where you want to. If we can't do it, we'll bring someone in that can. For us, it wasn't about the money and it wasn't about the project. It was more about the trust that we could get from our customers. So building organically is okay. It's not about the race to 100 customers. I'd rather have 10 customers that I can serve 100% or 150% than have 100 customers that I can only do 10% with. Because the factor of it is it only takes one bad seed to spoil the whole bunch. So, you know, you look at grapes, for example, if you have one bad grape, it will eventually infect the whole bunch. So, you know, don't be driven by money. That's what a lot of people have. They have this necessity to make money and they forget the customer along the way. And the second thing that we brought in was a process of understanding and believing that would we actually buy the stuff that we are selling? So would we become our own customers? Because, you know, we have this bias about who we are and we're brilliant, you know, and then imagine someone does that to you, you're like, I won't buy you at all. But yet we do that very same thing to people. So two things that I would say here, which is important about customer loyalty: do it for the value. Customers, it's not the customer comes first, the customer is first. Because without them, you don't exist. Serve with intensity, deliver above and beyond their expectation, and do it in small groups where you can control the seed. If you do have a customer that you haven't served correctly, even today you may be thinking, well, there's someone I could have done a little bit better with. You've got an opportunity, guys. Go back to today and say, look, we're not really entirely satisfied with what we've done with you. These customers know you, they understand you, they've bought you. They're the kind of people that I would now go to and sell and say, what am I missing? What else can I add for you? Who else could we go and do this for? And if your customers who understand you are telling you something's missing, listen to them, because they're the ones that take you to the next level. And you know, and the second thing from this is just always take time to go back and reorder them. Even just passing messages, even if there's nothing else you can offer them, a little gentle hello, how are things going, or you know, how are things going, even if you haven't spoken for a year. It's amazing how often a customer will say, oh, I was really thinking about you. I'm like, really? Do you have anyone else that we could sell to? That's what will happen. Loyalty comes from giving value. And if you can buy your own product that you're selling, then you're pretty much in a good place.
Let's talk about success. Do you think there is some formula to be a successful entrepreneur? What do you think there are like top 3 skills to be successful in business?
Okay, there's no formula, okay? So all this stuff that everyone peddles to you about, you know, come to my seminar and I'll teach you how to be successful, it's all bull. I'm not going to say the word because you're recording it. It's rubbish. It's all rubbish. Do you know why? Because that's their system. It's something that they've either siphoned from someone else and made their own, and they're trying to peddle that to you and say, oh, I made $30 million using this copy script. Now you can make $30 million. It doesn't work that way. So number one, guys, there's no thing as a successful. This is just my opinion. What there is individual success. So each and every one of you in this room have your own measurement and own barometer of success. And you should never compare that to anyone else's, just yourself. Because the minute you compare to your next door neighbor, you're living their success. You're not living yours anymore. Okay? And success changes, because if I can ask you all right now, how many of you would like to make $1 million in your business? Just put your hands up. All right, keep your hands up. Everyone wants to. Now, you've made $1 million. What happens now? What do you want to do? You want 2? Yeah? You want 10? You want 100? The point of it is, success is... You can put your hand up there. Success is an ever round circle. It won't stop, because the more you achieve, the more your goals change. The more your desire changes. The more you change as an individual. So the most important thing to remember is it's whatever you decide your success is, and be happy within that. Don't look and say, oh, they've got 250 views on their Facebook video, I've only got 4. It doesn't matter. 4 people in this world, even if it was your mum, dad, brother and sister, they want you to watch you, so they watched you. Be proud of that, because that's where all of these guys started. Okay? What you also don't understand is the iceberg effect. You know, you see what's on top, but you don't see underneath. You don't know what these people have gone through to get to that level of success. Because not every person's going to tell you the true story. But you asked about skills. I haven't got any skills, but I have got a process, not system. It's a process. And this process is what we call reverse engineering. Has anyone heard of this before? Yeah? I can see a smile going on. We've heard reverse engineering? Reverse engineering before? Yes. No, it's the guy giving you that smile. You okay? Okay, let me explain it to you. I need you to, hindsight. You understand that about hindsight, what hindsight is. Hindsight's a wonderful thing. Everything that you've experienced, then you can look back and say, oh, had I known that before, it would have been better. That's hindsight. For me, reverse engineering is the key to your success. The way we use it, the way we do it, is we look into the future and we crystallize exactly what we want. We crystallize it. This is how much money we want, this is the project we want, this is our client, this is our vision. It's not just a little mission statement or a vision that we put together. I mean, it's literally, you describe everything that you want and you set almost a date to it, in the future, and then you start working back to where you are today. And you know what, there are questions in there that you're never going to understand the answers for, but that's the whole point. If you can start pushing, where are you going to get your team from? Where are these people going to find? Where are you going to find them? What it does is it sets you out the whole roadmap to how you're going to pursue that. Now I'm going to give you a very quick story. Bill's my CSO's in the audience here. Bill and I have been working on this project for Thailand for a couple of months now, and I started to visualize. Bill goes, there's an opportunity here and we should think about it, but I'm not entirely sure what we can do. And this is all about manifestation, guys. So I looked forward and I thought, right, what is it that we want from them? I want a contract with the government, I want an 8-year contract, millions of dollars, working with the SMEs, working in this environment, get to go over quite regularly. You know, I wanted to work at government level, didn't work anywhere beyond, beneath that. Brought it all the way back to where we were today. So I already knew where I wanted to go. I already knew what I had to say, what I had to do, where I had to be, and who I had to meet. And then when Bill and I sat down and strategized this, he would set up the call with a connection. I would then literally go into this, and he's like, he goes, the way you put everything together so quickly, how do you do that? And I never explain it to people how to do it. It's reverse engineering. I already know exactly what I'm going to say to these people. Just so happens that I had to go to MIT, GSW, to speak in Bangkok, arrange that meeting. In that meeting, it was already set. I knew exactly what I wanted to tell these people. To the stage where they said, right, we want a proposal. By the time I got back from Bangkok, we put this proposal in, and you can ask Bill after this. We were doing pricing, and I knew how much I was going to charge. He's like, no way, because you're never going to get that out of them. He was almost talking me down. I'm like, no, this is what we're going for. We sent this on the eve of the Thai New Year. This is how much planning we put into this. This is all reverse engineered back to where we are. They said, oh, we may not be able to get back to you until the following Thursday. 3 hours after we sent the proposal, we like this, we want to do this, and we're currently at service contract level. This happened in a matter of a couple of weeks. I already have my 8-year plan in kick. So success is not an end result, it's what you reverse engineer. You've got to crystallize it, visualize it, and just be relentless. You know, you hear this about work really hard, hustle and grind and do all these things, and you're like, yeah, I'm hustling, I'm grinding, but I'm not moving anywhere. That's because you don't know what you're moving to. It's like being on an exercise bike with a wheel at the back hasn't been put up. You just keep cycling, you're not going to go anywhere. Eventually you're just going to get tired of it. You're going to get imposter syndrome. I recommend that you look into the future. You really make it clear. It's like, Glenn was talking earlier about your property company, right? I would plan and say, I want commercial building, I want this, I want that, I want this. It sounds really bizarre because you're asking for, it's like when you were a kid, you wanted this toy and you dreamt about it. You're always dreaming, that's the toy, that's the toy. Why is it eventually that toy becomes your property? Because you manifest it. It's the same thing here. Visualize it and then ask the hardest questions coming back. What do I need? Who do I need? When do I need them? Where do I find them? How much of it? Because you're going to say, I don't know, I don't know. Anything you say I don't know to, go and find out. Because if you make the plan exactly the way you want it, that's exactly how it will work. And that, my friends, will make sure that you never compare your success to anyone else's.
Ketan, in your process of reverse engineering, have you ever planned any failure? Can you share with us any failure or any investment that didn't go as planned and some lessons learned? Let's see.
Yeah, so some of you know that in my bio that I've been a special advisor to the Prime Minister in the UK. And this was as a result of creating an event in 2012 which supported young people. So in 2011, we had 1 million young unemployed people in the UK. We call them the missing millions, or the government used to call them NEETs, N-E-E-T-S, not in education, employment, or training. And as a result of this event that was boiling up, they started to lash out and they rioted on the streets and looted and damaged property and stuff like this. I came up with the idea for Youth Enterprise Live. We ended up impacting 18,500 young people. We gave away a lot of money in enterprise loans to 18 to 24-year-olds to start up their businesses. We gave a lot of money for social impact projects, local projects, 3,000 apprenticeships, 300 jobs. And as I say, this opportunity arose to work with the Prime Minister. So if the Prime Minister comes knocking on your door, I thought I was going to get arrested. Because I tell you why, for those of you who don't know, when I met him, I got a little bit drunk and I messed my lines up, and when he was walking away, I grabbed his arm and I pulled him back, and then I pitched him. And you can see the full story in some of the other videos I have, but it got the job done. I was very determined about what I wanted, so I kind of reversed engineered to where I wanted to be there. Anyway, we set up a media company for the event, and the whole idea of it is we're going to turn a national event into a national tour. So Youth Enterprise Live was going to turn into Youth Enterprise Nation. I felt that I had a few conflicts of interest with the company because I was now doing more government work. So I took a step down from the direction of the business, not really have paid attention to what I was leaving behind. And there was an event director there who'd done copious amounts of events, but he had made some massive mistakes in the first job, which I had to mop up. And I'll tell you what some of these mistakes were. Contractually signed off, thinking that he was working for a bigger event company, that he'll get lines of credit. Imagine this, at 6 p.m. on the evening before the show goes live. Okay, so I've just finished national interviews, media, press, all of this is done. My sponsors are on their way down. We've got coaches coming from parts of the UK from 3 o'clock in the morning to get there. I get a call from one of the companies to say, you signed a contract to say you pay us in full before the event. We need £30,000 before 9 a.m. tomorrow morning, otherwise we won't switch the power on your show. These are the kind of mistakes that I had to deal with. Now, that part was perseverance. You know, we got through that. I managed to put all my savings, go out and ask people to just help me out. Didn't know how I was going to pay them back. But I missed all these mistakes, these glaring mistakes. And when I dropped down as director of the company, I left them with £86,000 in the bank. In 9 months, I received a letter through the post to say we're winding the business up and it's 80, 90 or £100,000 in debt. I'm like, where's all the money gone? Because I was no longer a director, I couldn't see the accounts. Even though the accountant was saying, please get Ketan back, he's going to help recover this situation. In total entirety, my ego and my mistakes lost me almost £250,000, £250,000. And when you sit there and you receive a letter about your own business that you started is going and you have no control over it, it's like, well, ladies, you won't understand this, but guys, it feels like someone's just kicked you in the nether regions, basically. It hurt. It really hurt. And the failure of this was very much not the failure of planning, but it's the attention to detail. You know, I just talked to you about build people, not profit. Well, I had my own agenda. I sat away because I wanted to go and do my own things, not building the right people into this company, and as a result of that, it failed. But, you know, failure is hard, it's loss. We think about what we've lost, you know, it's an emotion, whether you lose a loved one, you split up with your girlfriend or boyfriend, there's a period of pain that you run through. The pain is temporary, guys. It's really temporary. How many of you have ever stubbed your toe? Anyone done that? Gone past the bed. You do this whole thing. And then after a little while, what happens? You just feel this pain. You can't even walk for a little while. And then while you're sitting there, you know it's paining, and it's going, you know, your toes going off. Within about another hour, you forget about your toe, that you hit your toe, and you start walking normally. It's the same analogy with failure. Failure is a pain which is temporary. You have to move forward. When I explained this to my father, my father's like, you lost £250,000. He goes, you could have bought like a house, and he's thinking about what you could have done with money. He goes, how can you just swallow that and move on? I said, it's money. It wasn't even my hands to lose, you know. What can I do? Cry about something that happened yesterday, or change what happens tomorrow? So I guess that the key thing here is, and you hear it all the time, anecdotally, you need to learn from your failure. You don't need to learn just from your failure. You need to learn why it failed. And shall I tell you why it failed? 99.99999% of the time? Because of you. It's your fault. But we are so emotionally connected to the fact, oh, me, it was someone else, and it was a bad time, and this and that. We find an excuse. But deep down, it's because you messed up. And if you can be open enough and honest with yourself as quickly as possible, yeah, I did make a mistake. It was my fault. And this is what I had to do. I had to reap it up and say, no one else's fault but yours. And the minute I started to admit that to myself, I could move forward and say, right, okay, I lost $250,000 here. Let's make it somewhere else. Let's do something else. Because now it's off your shoulder. Otherwise, what you do with failure is you hold on to it. You hold on to it in your chest. You hold on to it on your shoulders. You even drag this heavy ball and chain onto your ankle, and it drags around with you everywhere. Get it out of your system. Go take a break for a little while. Go get yourself in a dark room. Sit there, cry, do whatever you've got to do. Get it out there, but openly be honest with yourself. If you guys have failed at anything, it's your fault, no one else's. That's the biggest learning in failure.
There are a lot of people here that have business idea, or they are in the first steps of their business. How can they build the right model? And if they are going from failure to failure, how long do you go before you give up? When do you understand it's the right time?
If you're going from failure to failure, that means you're not learning or growing to this extent. All you're doing is you're taking exactly what you did with business A and applying it to business B, thinking that business B is different, so the opportunity will change. But if I said to you today, you've got honey and you've got toast, and they're the only two options. Number one, you can have honey on toast, or you can have toast on honey. It sounds different, but it's the same thing, right? Right? Yeah. This is what most people do. They make the same mistakes because they don't change the dynamics. They just change the slight formula. One day you're in fashion, next day you're in strategy. But you don't know either side of those businesses. You know, the fundamentally, you could be good at strategy and good at fashion, but you don't know how to run a business, maybe. That's what the problem is. So people keep doing the same thing, expecting a different result. You have to go back deeper. You've got to ask those questions. What went wrong? Why did it go wrong? Who? When? And understand that you don't have to be the genius of that industry or that sector. You don't have to be the expert. You can just be the person that spawns the idea. You can bring other people who are technically gifted into your business. How many of you have started a business and it's just you in that business? How many of you are just on your own in the business in the first sort of 6 months, even just the first 6 months? Okay, good. Those of you, put your hands up, have you now got other people in your business? You've got other people working with you? Yes. Yeah? Good. Those of you that don't, you're just going to keep going round and round because you think it's the whole thing of how do I let go. So learning the whole thing about growing a startup is that It's exactly that. It's starting up. Don't have this expectation that you're going to get to millions and hundreds of thousands. Get to the first sale. Understand how the first sale works. Understand why the customer bought you. Understand, is there something? Remember, serve them. Serve them. Great. Thank you very much. What am I missing? Some of you that came to Allweb, we talked about this last time I came. 50%, 40%, 7%, 3%. Remember that. 50, 40, 7, 3. That's your customer market. 50% have an attitude and behavior of want it for free. There's no loyalty to you. 40% of the market didn't know you exist or why, what particularly that you want. That's 90% of your customer market there. Only 7% say no or not yet. Only 7%. But you're like, no way, Ken, that's wrong. How many of you have done 100 calls and got 100 no's? Yeah, you're speaking to the wrong people. That's why. Only 7% of the market is not ready to buy you. That means 3% of your customer base. Guess what happens? How many of you have done the pitch of your life to a customer? You've talked them, and all they say, they're just quiet, and all of a sudden they go, okay, I'll buy it. How many of you experienced that? Put your hand up if you experienced that, right? All right, for those of you who've experienced that, what do? You're on the phone, you're like, wow. In your head, you're like, oh my God, you're going to buy me? What? Did you say yes? That's what you're thinking in your head, and you start doing that dance, and you do all those things. What's the next thing you do? What do you think the next thing is that you do? The customer's already said yes. Guess what you do? You start selling to them. You start telling them even more things about your product, how well it is. Dirty boy. Serve the customer. Serve the customer. Startups, it's exactly that. Don't think you're a big business. Don't think corporate-minded. Be agile. Look for one or two customers. Start to understand what's missing by asking your customers, and start building your team. The mindset. So any of you that I follow Robert Kiyosaki's model on mindsets. There are 4. You're self-employed, solopreneur, business owner, investor. Okay. All of you start as self-employed. Everyone starts a self-employed mindset. It's just you're just replacing the income that you generated when you're employed. But it's what we call the 1 times 100. So 100% of the income is coming from one person. It's non-scalable, it's non-sustainable. Then you move to solopreneur. Exactly the same thing. From getting a contract, you just create a job in a company. You're still 1 times 100. It's only when you change your mindset to build a system. So any of you that are selling things right now, if it's working, you've created a system. What is that system? Because that system is teachable. It's scalable. This is a thing that creates the 100 times 1. There are 100 people times 1% income, which is the scalability factor. Now, you're not responsible for making the sale or securing the client. You're responsible for keep building that system. And this is the bit that startups struggle with. They think that without them, the business doesn't work. Without them, you can't make the sale. Without them, you can't do the work or serve the customer. And without them, the business wouldn't grow. If I said to any of you today, right now, I'm putting you on an island for 6 months, and you can't touch your business, and you can't contact anyone, you can't do nothing. You can just sit on that island for 6 months. Don't worry, we'll feed you and water you and all that kind of stuff. Give you suntan lotion and all that. What happens to your business? How many of you really would be coming back to a business? Honestly. That's good. That's good. Because most of you won't think about that because you are still the center of your business. We need to brush that ego aside. Have to brush the ego aside. So you've got to start thinking of how do you build this business without you in it. And that's the whole process of working on rather than in. That takes you round to the investor mindset. And the investor mindset is very much all about building networks of people that build systems. This is where you make your money work for you, not resources, making money work for you. So how robust is your network? How can you get your network to build those systems? How can those network who build the system then resource the system? So you're making money through money, through money, through money. That's what it's all about.
Ketan, you have worked in the government, Prime Minister. Do you have any advice for the Albanian government? How can they impact the local startup ecosystem to create a more entrepreneurial society, let's say?
You have to bring that question in, right? Okay, so my advice to the Albanian government. Is anyone from the government here? I know you filmed me, I know I'm watching this. Can I see a copy of this before it goes to the Albanian government, right? Number one, you need to hire us first, okay? Albanian government, you need to bring enterprise labs first, number one. Now, seriously, it's difficult because the one thing that we misunderstand about governments is the pressure, especially like prime ministers and or all governments have so much pressure. I mean, you think about when they stop funding in a particular place or they start funding somewhere else, we all complain. They take from the young, and give it to the old, or they take from the old and give it to the young. All they're doing is moving money around in certain circles. And the pressure of actually having to please so many different generations is really, really tough. That's the first thing that I want to bring. I used to be that person that says, governments are, what do they know? And then when I got behind the scenes and I'm seeing a day in the life of a prime minister, I'm like, oh, it's still so much pressure. But the advice I have is consult the private sector. Public sector professionals or servants like ministers and politicians, and most of them haven't run businesses. They've just come into a particular area. They change their roles within government quite frequently, which means that often enough, who was your Secretary of State or Minister for Education becomes your Minister of Energy or something like that. And consultation with the private sector is really, really important. This is one of the biggest things that we learned with the UK government, and I'm not saying it's all David Cameron's idea, but one of the greatest things that happened was they came out and they started consulting with those that knew. Working in parallel with your private sector is going to be more and more rewarding. The second thing is, and we talked about this, I talked about this at Infocom last year, about your youth here, in the sense that, and I was painting a picture to your government saying, please pay more attention to your young generation. The issue we also have is that the young generation is still a little bit immature in terms of what they can go. So there is a responsibility for the mid to come in and consult into these kind of programs themselves. Whatever you're going to do, if it comes from a business or a funding perspective, don't forget mentoring. Just don't forget mentoring. There are people in this room who can be mentors to others. It doesn't mean that you have to have a business successful and solve it, but there are small things that you've gone through in your life that you can help a young person not just avoid, but understand. Money is one thing, funds are one thing, and money is replaceable. It's a piece of fat material, but that life experience lasts forever. So the things that we've done in other countries is everything which has got a funding program built to it, which is consulted with the private sector, comes with mentoring. So government start a mentoring scheme, incentivize your population to come forward. Those that are seniors in corporations right the way through to retired entrepreneurs, make it happen, incentivize them, give them something that will make them come back and really help, because without that, you've got a big missing link.
What is your favorite part of being an entrepreneur? How do you keep yourself motivated? Because entrepreneurship sounds very romantic, but it's really hard.
Yeah. I think you hit the nail on the head. A lot of people romanticize with entrepreneurship, but it's not really entrepreneurship, it's business. Okay? Entrepreneurship is just a way of life, it's a way of thinking, but we attach it, this word, you know, like innovation and disruption, they're all words now people are capitalizing with, but are romanticizing. I am, to a certain extent, I have to be my own sense of motivation. There are obviously, like anyone, I have good days, bad days. I'm a human, I make mistakes. But for me, it's, what does it symbolize? It symbolizes freedom. That's the first thing. There are two reasons to why I do what I do. Number one is to produce value which will transform itself into a legacy. And the second is to be free. And that freedom is freedom of choice, nothing else. I choose to be here with you all. I choose to travel the world, or I choose to not work today. It's not a, oh okay, it's all right for you, you're lucky. It's not a lucky thing. It's a whole strategy that's been planned out. And just like with any day, any of you go to the gym, all right? You know there are days you've got to do leg day and you're like, no way. You know, you're going to walk out after doing legs and you can hardly walk, but it's, you know it's coming, but you've got to do it. You have to do it. And this is the same thing. If you're going to get into business, don't look at it from a, oh, I'm going to make lots of money and retire. That's what everyone thinks. You'll be running that rat race. It's just a carrot they dangle in front of you forever. Create that life plan, do that reverse engineering, stick to your goal and be relentless. Just do not give up until you've achieved that status. But it comes at a price, okay? That price is sacrifice. You've got to sacrifice a lot. You know, when I first started out, it was tough. All hours God sends. You know, if there were 25 hours or 28 hours in the day, I'd be so happy. But 24 hours non-stop working on the business, working in the business, came at the cost of the time that I had with my family. And, you know, you get to a stage where it can be tough. It can be really tough. You know, as I say, I fell into business when my daughter was 3 and my son was 1, you know, and it was necessity, not desire. I needed money to put on the table, that's why I went into business. It transformed and transpired from there in the future, but for the next 3 or 4 years, that's what I did. Business. You know, I'd pack myself into my side office and hide away, and I wouldn't come out. I'd be having dinner really late at night. Eventually my wife got tired and she said, she goes, you love your business more than you love your family. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm doing this for us, and you know, for making all this money and for you, so you can have the. She goes, I don't want the money. She goes, we just want you. And I'm like, huh? So I thought, okay, I've got to work out a plan here. So I went outside, scratched my head, had a smoke, came back in, and I said, okay, I've got an idea. Why don't you come and work for me? And she, you know, and I'm like, okay, I don't condone this. Don't try and bring your partners into your business. It can ruin you. But I had a plan. You can start working with me, earn a little bit of money, see what we're doing, then I'll start outsourcing you to other businesses. Look, at the end of the day, that wasn't the answer. I had my priorities wrong and I had my strategy wrong. You know, I had to go back and rethink. So I sat, I really thought about this, and I started to reverse engineer again. And it took 3 years to get to it, but I have the perfect strategy for me. It's called 831. I spent 8 months of the year traveling the world, finding new people, working with people all over the world. I spent 3 months of the year working from home. So I have an office right next door to my house, which means that I'm there when the kids come home from school. I can sit around the table and eat with them. And we spent 1 month of the year doing absolutely nothing. No phones, no tech. We go on holiday, four holidays a year. where all I do is spend that time with them. I don't care if my house burns down while I'm on holiday. That's what we're there for. And you know, the balance just works. So as an entrepreneur, you know, it's not about how hard you work, it's how balanced are you in your life. Because we put so much pressure on ourselves to try and achieve. And the most important things to us, we neglect and we sacrifice. And eventually it's too late. And you become what we call a rock between a hard place. So find your balance and everything will set itself up. It will work exactly how you want it to.
Do you have any business-related book that has inspired you? Since we have Bookinist today with us.
Oh, there's loads of books. By the way, guys, I'm not the kind of guy that finishes books. I'm the kind of guy, if you give me a book, I'll read the first page, I'll read the last page, or sometimes I read the last page, read the first page, and then I'll just flick through the book until I get to a random page which perks my interest. But then I've got a couple of books which are really, really good. I haven't got all the authors' names here, but The Rational Optimist is a really good book that I've kind of can recommend to you. There is a book by the CEO of the Campbell Soup Company called Touch Points. It's a very good book on leadership and understanding touch points within business. A book that's really kind of helped me along the way is The Little Black Book of Innovation. It isn't a little black book though, it's quite a big one. And I'm currently reading Ray Dalio's Principles, and that is stunning, stunning book for a very clever man. And don't just suck into it because the Tony Robbins and the people of this world are saying it's the right book. I thought, yeah, let me have a go at this, let me see this. It's riveting, I've read it 3 times, backwards, forwards, insides and outs. Principles by Ray Dalio. It will set you up completely. One more that we have along the line that I've also worked with, and it's a book from Bruce Lee's library actually, and it kind of symbolizes a lot of his philosophy and quotes. So it's not really an entrepreneur book or a business book, it's more of a theory book, you know, about life and how you work. But if any of you are struggling with the whole concept of certain things, I can thoroughly recommend Principles. Principles by Ray Dalio is the one. It's quite thick though. All right.
Okay, you can keep it.
Oh, I can keep it. Thanks.
What makes you happy?
What makes me happy? All you lovely people coming to see me. What makes me happy is it's changed a lot over time. Before it was all about being able to make an impact. It was very much about me. But actually, being happy now is very much just being able to do what I want, how I want, when I want, with who I want, to a certain extent. But it's just being able to be in the company of people that can feel inspired by what we've done. And you know, it doesn't mean that I need to be on the pedestal in any way, shape or form. But for me, just being happy is about being connected to people more than anything else. I've been disconnected for too long, and I thought I was happy. I realise that more now, you know, that without people around me, I'm connecting, and I mean, don't connect with my head, I mean connect with my heart. When I can connect with people in my heart, it makes me so happy. And that's that. I mean, whether it's my kids, or my outer circle family, or my even outer circle family, everything for me is about connection.
Okay, one last question before we give the microphone to the public. What is the biggest dream you haven't achieved yet? You should have the answer from the reverse engineering, I guess.
It's really bossy, isn't it? What's my biggest dream that I haven't achieved yet? I don't know, maybe if I was being funny, I'd say probably go to Mars or something silly like that. But I think the biggest dream for me is being around to see my kids achieve what they want to achieve. And that's it. I think everything else, whether I've achieved it or not, I feel like I've got to a touch point. But my biggest thing here, and this is why I'm going through a major course of making sure that it's not just wealth, it's health as well. And trying to drip out toxicity from my systems just to know that I'm there to see my children succeed in what they want to do. My daughter's on her way, my son wants to be a pilot. I'm like, hey, this is sorted. One wants to be a singer and actress, and the other one wants to be a pilot. I've got it made. I can just tour the world and watch my daughter in shows. So that's my biggest dream. More than anything else is to see my kids achieve their successes.
Thank you so much. Questions?
I guess people can ask the question and
without
we'll give the microphone to Ketan.
Okay.
Yeah. Because you can hear.
I'll repeat the question.
I'll repeat it for you.
Yeah, so my question was, what kind of strategies do you suggest into motivating business partners? So let's say if you are in a business venture with 2 other partners and you start all right, all motivated, but after 6 months you see that from the others, from their side, their motivation is falling off. They're not on their best, even though you are trying to give an example to lead them.
Okay, so the question's around how do you motivate your business partners?
How do you keep motivated?
And how do you keep them motivated?
Yeah.
Okay, so getting into business with co-founders is a bit like going on dates and having a girlfriend and boyfriend and all that kind of stuff. It's the first couple of weeks or so. It's so nice and it's such a good feeling. Everyone's got the right energy. Everyone, it doesn't matter what you say, everyone agrees. And then, all of a sudden, the daughter, the woman in the relationship turns around and says, right, I want you to meet my mother, and you're like, That's what happens in business as well. You see, we romanticize about it too much. We bring in people too much like us that share the same sort of things. One of the biggest reasons to why you lose motivation in business, or your business partners will lose motivation, is because you're trying to do the same sort of thing, or you're competing around the same environment, or they're actually doing the wrong things in the business themselves. We do a lot of profiling of entrepreneurs, understanding their proclivities, what their natural inclination, where are they. So they may be great with figures, but they're creatives. And when you stifle that as time goes on and you become more and more serious, some people will wane away. The honest thing is, I had this with Enterprise Lab. When I first started Enterprise Lab, we had 2 co-founders working within the business. Yes, I was the boss in that respect, or the visionary, but within a year, one of them was literally struggling to keep up, couldn't come to meetings, wouldn't come to meetings. So we addressed it straight away. You've got to be honest. And we said, do you really want to be in this? Is your heart still in it? Because if it isn't, it's okay to leave. We'll give you a severance, a golden handshake. We'll thank you for everything that you've done, and we'll move on. So 3 became 2. 6 months after he left, our business partner then had wanted to turn the business into a social enterprise. We started to have a difference in opinion, and I was doing a lot more work from my, personally and through the government stuff, and they felt like I wasn't really pushing the brand. So you've got a difference of opinion. So in the dating game now, this is where you like blue, but they like red. Now, yes, they do say in relationships that the woman's always right, okay, but there is a controlled right, okay, in certain things. So you've got to have a compromise. So I did the same thing again. I took the time, I went back, and I asked the questions that no one wants to ask. What's wrong? What aren't you happy about? What is it that you want to do that's not happening in the business? And then I asked them, do you really want this? And if they can't answer, if they go, oh yeah, I want it, go back. So what's wrong? You have to, it's not about motivating people. People are self-motivated in business, but it's the raw honesty, because people fall out of love in these certain things, and they feel like, no, I've got to stay here because I started this with them.
Yeah, that is exactly, let's say you say the other person that, why are you doing this?
Yeah.
And they say, yeah, I want it. We will do
But they're not.
But they do not act afterwards.
Yeah.
Afterwards.
Which means that it's something, so when someone says, yeah, I want it and I'll do it, they're doing it for the sake of doing it. Now, if I got you to do something for the sake of doing it, how effective are you? What's your productivity levels going to be like? They're less than 50%. And the reason being is because this isn't their natural inclination. They feel forced into it. If I gave, okay, let me give you an example of this. If I was to give you the worst job ever, what would that job be?
I believe.
Sorry?
Working with...
Worst job. So you would hate this job ever.
Yeah, like some hard physical work.
Okay. So if now you are going to be my labourer, you're going to move the sand and the bricks and
Yeah.
you're going to enjoy the work, yeah?
No.
But you know you're going to get paid, so you'll do the work. But your productivity level's here. Eventually, you're going to get to a stage where you're going to say, my desire and my pain outweighs the money. You don't care about money anymore. You get to that point where you just think, I don't care about this. And that's when you start to turn bad as a seed. No matter how much good you try, everything starts to fall away. Which is why people are now in this is my advice to you here is have the full and frank conversation. And if this is a business that you're serious about and you're motivated into, ask the question and say, look, if you guys don't want to be here, we work a strategy on the way out. Or get it clear, get an expectation, and build a plan. Say, okay, well, if this is the area that you're going to be in, what are you set the goal. You tell me achieve in the next 6 months. Get them to write it down. And if they don't achieve it, you've got yourself an exit strategy. But right now, rather than just kind of just playing and playing and playing, you've got to have a plan to it. And that starts with honest, open questions. I think your colleagues will really respect you for that, if you can do that. Yeah.
Okay, we are recruiting now, so I would like a couple of insights. What do you think shall we look for, in people?
Okay, so you're recruiting, and it's what you want insights on what to look for in people?
Energy salespeople.
Energetic salespeople.
Yeah.
Okay. For me, don't look at the skill, as in their sole property. The system you can teach them. Okay, you're looking more at the fundamental of the individual. Are they progressive? Are they driven? Are they relentless? Are they also quite? Do they have quite good initiative? Because salespeople, by the very nature, especially good ones, they don't wait for instruction. They're going to find their own way. They're a bit like water. Somehow will find their way through, navigate through, even if it's a bit unorthodox. Doesn't matter. You need driven people. You need people that are. So the way I do this is I wouldn't do basic interviews. I would probably create demo days, example days, not just in the industries, anything. It's not like, oh, sell me this bottle. But I'd be saying, here is a bottle. How many different products can you make out of it? That's ingenuity. if someone can bring more than 5 different products up using this, I know that they can think for themselves. That's ingenuity. Okay, second assessment is going to be about drive. Well, what you're going to do is you're going to start with all of the resources, and as time goes, you take one resource away at a time. How long do they carry on persevering to try and solve the case or whatever it is? So you're assessing their drive. And then the third part about it is tenacity, perseverance. How much are they going to go through? So you're looking for people that are going to, they'll sell their skin to do what they want to do for you. But don't ask those stupid questions, which is, why my company? What is it that you can do for my business? No, it's not your business anymore, it's theirs. This is the way I've set up. So I've got look, Sarah's quite young, she's quite dynamic. She's coming on, she's sort of building from there. In Guatemala, where we have our other office, we have a recently graduated person working in there. He's managing the whole country in this respect. And I'm throwing on top of him and saying, you decide how you want to run it, I'm behind you. But what I see in him is ability, professionalism, drive, everything is there. It's just that it's not quite all in situ. So it's how much are you now going to invest into these people? Don't just hire someone and then expect tomorrow that they're going to do the job. Your job now is to work with them every day, checking in with them, making sure that they've got everything they need to do their job to the next level. So one thing that I know to do, I say, oh, I've hired someone, off you go and do the work yourself. So test them for different traits. Make it more assessment driven. Ingenuity, tenacity, drive. Once you've got that person that's hungry, then you train them on your system. This is the way we do it. That's you putting culture into them. And then you watch them go. And for me, the biggest thing you've got to do is then thereafter is stop from looking at their results and make sure that you're a touch point to them almost every other day. So the guy, Juan Pablo, that's in Guatemala, we have at least 1 or 2 strategy sessions a week where we talk. And I'm like, tell me what your problems are, tell me what this is, what can I help you with? You've got to be there for them, because that's the only way they'll actually build up. So don't worry about your scaling, worry about the kind of people that you're putting in there. And last thing, look through the ranks of your current salespeople, okay? Don't try and copy those people, because you can't copy, you can't clone, but bring one of them up. Your best person, bring them up a level, make them the trainer to the new people, value them, and you'll see that your culture will start seeding through at all levels. That's the other thing to do as well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, I have 2 questions.
Oh.
First is for starting a business from scratch is I believe is very difficult, and I wanted to ask you your first year as a startup for Enterprise Lab was what marketing strategy have you used to grow your business and to generate incomes and to grow your brand?
Okay, so just for anyone that didn't hear the question, so starting a business is quite tough, and you really want to understand the marketing strategies. First thing that I do, what I can recommend to any of you, don't go out there and start thinking, right, I need to set up a Facebook account and start to put thousands and thousands of pounds into hundreds of pounds into Facebook. Facebook's algorithm is changing massively. Their costs have gone up by 40%. They're very selective of how the marketing works there. The very first thing that I did is I went into my network. I went in and looked at my network and says, who here can either become a client or help me achieve a client? And this will tell you something. If you can't go to anyone in a network to help you, you haven't built your network. Your network's one of the most influential things that you can ever do. And that's that's marketing 101. Go to a known source that's controlled, where you can start to leverage through. So the first thing we did, after we started the outsourcing agency, I went to every business director in every healthcare company that I knew or had some connections with and said, you can't hire people, so who's going to do the work? You know me, give me the contract. So my first marketing strategies were always around closed loop network. So when I started an enterprise lab, the first thing I went to was colleges that I knew I had some form of rapport, relationship, or I knew someone that knows someone. That's how we got through the door. You see, what takes you 5 days, takes you 5 hours, takes you 5 minutes, right? Why would you try and market for 5 days when you know someone in your network that can do it in 5 minutes? Build your network first. Work that network when you need it most. It's one of the most important things. This is what we train into business owners who are doing 6 figures and above today, that hitting the base points of, I can't grow any further. I'm like, who do you know that can take you to the next level? Who do you know can open the door to the next contract? Do you know enough influential people? And that's the biggest thing we forget to do. We forget to nurture our network. One of the reasons why I'm here is because of network. You know, Gertie and I met at Infocom. Okay, he interviewed me, and he's been relentless. He will not stop harassing me. And every week I have an email for no, but that's the network part. And then you know what? This kind of whole event, not just Startup Grind stuff, but the stuff that we're working on, is a combination of 6 to 8 months of continual trying to identify. We got to a stage where I said, I've got certain content, you've got capacity, and we've come together. He's putting people in the room, I'm providing content. That's how the values work. If I try to market this event myself here, how difficult do you think it is? Because not everyone knows me. It takes me 5 days. It takes a marketing person 5 hours. But it takes Gertie 5 minutes. Drive to your easiest route. That's how you secure your first deal. But the power of that comes from networking.
Thank you. And the second question, you said mentoring is very important.
Yes.
And who are your mentors?
Mentoring is absolutely crucial. I'm quite an open learner. I learn from a lot of different people. There's a guy sitting behind you, he's my mentor. You wouldn't admit to it, but he is. He's very much a mentor. He's been a mentor for a number of years. We've only just started working together, but for a number of years I've kind of learned and observed and seen. I don't need big name celebrity entrepreneurs. I've got people who have been my clients who I'm so inspired by that I've kind of gone back and learned more from them and what they've done, because I've only been a part of their journey, but they're a total package. What I tend to do is, if I feel someone's out there that I understand, value, and can learn from, I immediately just push the question out. Can I get an hour with you a month, or can I get some time with you where we can exchange advice? I don't say, can you be my mentor? Because some people get scared away from it. But have the conversations, but be ready to listen when they tell you something that you don't like. You have to be prepared. So go out there, have a look at people that inspire you, that you would like to learn from, or you feel that can learn from you. I get it quite often where people will come to, look, will you mentor me? When they say that, I'm like, no, okay, you're going to have to come through my programs. But then some people will be like, I really need your help on something. And I will turn around and say, look, I'll give you some of my time, but if you don't commit to it, if you don't commit to listen to what I'm about to tell you, then don't waste my time. But there's lots of people out there who want to help, They can't find the mentees to work with. And there's something that Bill says quite often. Businesses fail because of bad mentoring. And that's because people just go to who they see up in the skies. You know, they think, right, you are the epitome of this market, of this generation. Just because you're good at your business doesn't mean you're a good mentor. Just because you're good at what you do doesn't mean that you can teach it to others. And there's a lot of people that are driving mentoring with ego. They mix the whole thing up, like, oh, I can mentor this and this. It's got sometimes the relationship is no more than 20 minutes. Sometimes the relationship can last for 20 years. So really go out and ask those questions. But you know, you can't do this alone. It's something that I've said before, and I'll say it again. Nothing of greatness has ever been achieved without the help of others. Yet, if you don't understand how to ask for the help, then how can someone else help you? If you are not prepared to change, then how can you help change anyone else? So it's the whole oxygen mask theory. Put your mask on before you help others, and it's the same way you look out into the industry. There are people out there that claim to be mentors, business mentors, and they don't even have a business. They don't have to run a business. They're life coaches that have never really lived life. They're relationship coaches who are single. You know, look a little bit deeper. Don't just be dazzled by the lights of what you see. Go beyond. Research them well, and ask the question. Too many people are afraid of asking for someone to be a mentor. And no, you can't get a third question where you say, "Can you be my mentor?" You have to ask that later on, basically. Was there one question?
Last question.
Last question. Oh.
Would you invest your private money in Albania?
Would I invest my private money into Albania? My God. You had to ask that question right at the end when I've got no water left as well. Now it starts drying up. Yes, to a certain extent. Thank you. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. I wouldn't start off investing my own money. The first level of investments that I tend to do are sweat equity deals. So I take equity in exchange for my efforts. As I say, you know, the 5 days, 5 hours, 5 minutes syndrome. I've got quite an influential network that I can add in. And what I do is I take your equity and I trade your equity for results. So there are companies like Curve, a contactless payment ring, where we took 6% of the company to help them build a crowdfunding campaign to get 500,000. We took another 6% to get them onto the payments network with MasterCard, and then we took another 6% to get them into retail. 18% of the company gone. No money put in from us. Okay, all I did is I went back into my network and I found the right people, and I said, I'll give you 6% if you do this, I'll give you 6% if you do that. In, you know, what was 3 weeks work for me amounted to 6% of the business is worth 8 million today. Okay, so we start with smart investments. That way I can get some control and I can also advise and mentor, where it's not just my money that's going. Money's not the most important thing, and Bill will tell you the same thing. Money's around everywhere. There's money here in Albania, okay? We're running a whole seminar on Wednesday about access to finance. It's not about the money, it's about what type of money it is. The first thing is, that's the way I work. If I see more and more opportunity, the right way, yeah, maybe I would put my own private money in. But for me, it's not about hedging other people's money. The most important thing is, let's get your businesses right first. So the question I have for you, sir, is are you prepared to create an investable business? If you want my money, are you ready to make your business investable? Because 95% of the time, the businesses aren't right either. So let's think about that.
There is another one.
All right, seeing as it's a lady, we'll let this one go.
Well, speaking actually about money, my question was related to that. I'm working with a friend of mine. We have this great startup idea, and you know, we're working on a plan, working on how to find the people and so on, but we need to find the money, right? So I've been searching and Googling about whether to take a loan or finding investors or going to friends and family, but I'm still a bit puzzled on how to deal with that. So I would take a suggestion if possible. Or I should invest my own money.
Is it still at idea concept stage, or have you already, are you validated, are you in the market already, are you making sales?
We are working on opening a platform. We have the platform already and we're working, you know, to make improvements on it and found our own team, let's say. We're still building up, but yeah, it's not just an idea.
Okay, so I think you're still a little bit early stage for like investment in that level. I think there are a couple of things you need to think about here. First is take it through validation, create social proof that people want it. Everyone comes with great ideas. And I'm not putting your idea down, don't get me wrong. Everyone's got great ideas, but 99% of them are great in your head, but in reality they're like chocolate teapots. As soon as you put hot water in them, they're going to melt, basically. They just become irrelevant. You need to go through a very fast, quick iteration journey of proving that this is going to sustain and work. The second thing is, you need to prove to yourself how it's going to make money. Because the theory of money is different to the practice of money. What we say, oh, if we get 10,000 downloads of our app, do you know how many people you need to have registered, download your app before people become active users in terms of those correlations? So there's a bit of this kind of proof work. Getting a loan, it's not advisable because you'll have the pressure of repaying that loan back almost instantly. Unless there's a favourable term set for you where you've got 6 months holiday before, or something like 3 months holiday before you can start paying the loan back. I think you should, if you want to do this, you should crowdfund. That's my suggestion to you. And I'll tell you why. You can kill 3 birds with 1 stone. You can raise in 30 days, you can prove that people want it, and you can expose it into the market, so you can use that as a marketing strategy to get yourself out there. If you can raise a certain amount in 30 days, that shows an investor that this is investable. Then you change what you're investing into. You're investing for scalability, not startup. So you've got a little bit of work to do around there, but I would probably say go down the crowdfund route. It's a tech product, right? So it's a digital platform?
Yeah.
Yeah. Was it Seeders, Crowdcube, do you think? Probably. There are a couple of really good crowdfunding platforms that will specialise on those type of environments, that has investors that want to invest into those kind of things. Whether you do equity or reward, that's entirely up to you. But you have to prove it. That's the hardest part. Finding the money is not, it's proving it works. That's the big thing. All right.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
You were fantastic. This was one of the few times where people were writing when the speaker talks. So there were good lessons for the community here and live from Facebook. So thank you so much for sharing the lessons and dedicating your time to us.
You're very welcome. Thank you.